So we're relieved with the verdict. The jury determined beyond a reasonable doubt that this was not self-defense. I'm relieved for Isaac's family, for the other victims. It's, I think, as anyone could see in this case, it's absolutely tragic on many levels. But we're relieved with the jury's verdict. I can answer some brief questions. I'm not going to speak for too long.
Were you at all disappointed that it wasn't the highest charge, like the initial charge that you guys gave?
No, it's part of the criminal justice process. The jury gets to decide which charge fits the facts. So they determined that it was reckless. It doesn't mean some didn't think it was intentional, but they couldn't agree on intentional. They agreed unanimously that it was reckless, that he showed utter disregard for human life in his actions.
That video as a piece of evidence for you guys?
It was important for both sides. You know, defense relied on the video, but the video doesn't tell the whole story. If you just watch the video, you don't get the full picture of this case. The jury sat through 7 days of evidence. A key point in this case was Nikolai's own actions. You know, after he stabbed all these people, he walked away. He ditched his knife, didn't tell his group anything, and then he tried to get away. He pretended like he wasn't involved, and then gave a story to Lieutenant Hart that they pulled knives on him, and I think that's important for the jury to know that, to see what he thought, what was in his mind at the time of these, and whether it was actually self-defense.
Part of the cross-exam too is questioning him about why didn't, if you pulled the knife out, why did you hold it at your side? Just tell us about that sort of approach to him, about asking about bringing the knife up and showing it to him versus not.
Our position was, if he's truly afraid, why not just hold up the knife and people are going to back up like Owen did. Owen ran away once he saw the knife. So that was our thought on it.
Have you talked to the family? Did they have a reaction, or any of the other young people who were testifying in the case?
Isaac's family's here. We spoke with them. They're extremely relieved and feel that Isaac got justice.
Carl, the decision to let the jury consider lesser charges, was that decision something you had always been thinking, or when was that decision made?
Yeah, that was always the plan, to ask for lesser included charges. It's really common in a homicide case, because ultimately the jury is the one seeking the truth. It's up to them to reach the verdict, and they might not think it's intentional, or they may think it's reckless. So here they found the big difference between reckless and intentional is whether he was trying to kill them or not. And then the difference between, so this was the third lesser included. And the big difference between the two recklesses is whether it was utter disregard for human life, and they concluded it was with their verdicts.
Is there a self-defense component to the reckless homicide first degree?
Yes, if they believed it was self-defense, it would have been not guilty across the board.
Carl, can you talk about how big this case is for you in your office and this community at large? It seems like everybody here is following this case.
Yeah, I'd say I mean, obviously this isn't typical here. We do trials all the time. There's usually not that much, nearly as much investment, I guess, in a lot of what we do. So it had a major impact on the community. I think a big part of it is how public it was, the incident, the number of victims. It happens that the victims aren't residents of here. Either was Nikolai, but the Apple River is very well known in the area. As anyone who was there for jury selection, I think about half the jury panel had been to the Apple River, so I think it kind of hits close to home for a lot of people.
Carl, two questions. One, I mean, you used the word relieved. That almost means that you didn't have a lot of confidence. Why that word choice about relieved for this verdict?
Because I think the victims got justice. I was very hopeful for a conviction, but you just never know what a jury's going to do. Usually I think we have a pretty good idea. I've been surprised before in jury trials, but I think when we looked at all the evidence, it seemed clear to us that he was angry, that he wasn't afraid. So we were confident the jury would see that also, but you just never know.
And that, you know, we talked about the central video that they wanted to see, but it seemed like in your comments that another video, which you made prominently, was the video of his interrogation. What
Yes.
effect did that have, you think?
I think it showed his consciousness of guilt, that he knew he wasn't in fear for his life, so he had to embellish the story and say that other people pulled knives on him and he took away their knife in order to justify it. So Nikolai knew when he gave that interview that he was not justified.
So one more, but when the defense attorneys were here, they talked about how, you know, that there's a community standard of self-defense, and that these 12 people, you know, this happened to be their standard. What precedent does this set now? You know, what message does this case, how do you define then self-defense? If this is not it, then what is?
The jury instructions define self-defense. The jury is obligated to follow that. In this case, they concluded, again, beyond reasonable doubt, it wasn't. The video, I think another big part of this case was the other video from Larry and Davis, who I think if anyone saw his testimony, we didn't call him for his eyewitness account, but for that other video he took, which shows Nikolai walking opposite of the direction of his group, approaching Dante and stabbing him after Ariel was already there. So I think that was also a key piece, that, you know, he wasn't afraid, he was angry.
And Carl, when is sentencing, and what are the possibilities that could happen?
I don't know when sentencing is yet. It hasn't been scheduled. If I did my quick math right, I think he's facing 97 years.
Because it could be consecutive with the different victims?
Yes. It's ultimately up to the judge, obviously, the sentence.
60 years on the top count, potentially.
Well, so it's 40 in and 20 out on the top count, plus 5 years for the using a dangerous weapon. The other counts are 7.5 years plus 5 of initial confinement, prison time. So.
And does the judge have discretion, or is there a guideline range or anything like that?
There's no guidelines. It's strictly up to the judge's discretion. So. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.